Hello, I'm Randi Roberts, executive and career life coach. And as we're gathering here, just kind of a reminder of what I do and why I love it so much. And really, my work in this career is about helping you love your work. It's no accident that every Monday I put out a short video that I call TGIM. Thank God it's Monday because I want you to feel as excited on Monday morning to go to work as you do at the end of the week when your work is done. So that's the whole reason I do it. So if something that I say here sparks with you, if you think, if you want to know more about it, if you disagree with me, like that's why I'm doing this is for you. So I'd love to hear what you have to say. Okay, so what we're here to talk about today is how you can make your life as a leader easier. Over the last month or so, I've been talking a lot about overwhelm because it's been coming out as a theme with my clients and colleagues and things. And this is kind of an extension of that thinking around overwhelm because the feedback and the engagement in that topic has told me that it's really important. So the next logical thought was, how can you make your life as a leader easier? And so I've got some ideas for you, some interesting strategies that I think can help you. And hang on to the end because I think the last one is all about mindset and how you can continue the process of making your life easier. And I think it's worth listening to. So I hope you'll hang in. So really, the premise of this is that leadership, sometimes we think about it as it's hard. We have to struggle. The hours are long. The pressure is relentless. Yeah, that's one way to do it. But my thesis here is that is not the only way to do it. And I think it's even not the best way to do it. You do not have to carry this load alone. Being a leader doesn't mean you have to be lonely. There are some things you can put into place that can make it easier for you. And like, what if there was a world where doing this easier meant you were a more effective leader? Mind blown, right? But that's what we're here to talk about today because I really believe that the best leaders don't succeed because they work the hardest. Or that they take on every challenge personally. They succeed because they create systems, they build teams and cultures that work with them, that work for them, that really help share the load and make their lives easier. So that's what we're going for here. We're going to explore some ways that you can do that you can make your life easier and focus on, really what matters. It is about the team. It's about developing talent. It's about setting clear expectations. It's about harder isn't always better. Smarter is better, easier is better, because that's really what's most productive. If the equation around productivity is, effort plus brain power, that kind of thing. If we can put less effort in for the same level of productivity, that's efficiency. And so that's kind of what we're going for. Another thought here is as leaders, we all want to be needed, but not all the time. If you're setting an environment where you are needed for every decision, for everything to move forward, maybe time to rethink that. So you're still needed, but that doesn't mean you have to be needed every moment. Okay, so let's get into some of these strategies to make leadership easier. In general, we want to be really purposeful. We want to communicate really clearly, and you got to have the right players on your team. So surrounding yourself with high performers, yeah, that's, of course, that's what we want to do. But it's high performers that also align to your vision and values, because then you're both swimming the same way in the current. The strong team makes leadership so much easier, but it's not just high performers in their functional area. If they're aligned to your vision and values, you can delegate. You can share the goal, communicate in all the ways that you need to, and step away. And they're going to be making decisions, maybe not exactly the way you would, but aligned with the way you would, likely things that you can live with and support and build upon. So having the right players on the team is absolutely where it starts. And it's interesting because you have to know, obviously what you need out of that functional area. It brings to mind for me a time where I was in sort of a general management business role when I was in the corporate world, and I needed to hire somebody who was in the market access space. And frankly, I needed somebody who knew more about it than I did. And so if I had gone into this as a leader who was looking to hold things really close and looking to sort of, prove myself as a good leader, I might not have been confident enough to recognize that I needed somebody who who knew more than I did, and I needed to let them shine and I needed to let them lead. And it worked out so beautifully. I mean, it was a great leadership lesson for me. He contributed at a really, really high level, and we're still friends to this day. So that's kind of what I think about with having the right team, having the right players on the team. It's the functional expertise, it's the values alignment, but it's also, my hope was I brought in somebody that knew more than I did. So that's definitely what I think about with having the right players on the team. Okay, so let's say we've got the right players on the team. You still have to work to develop their skills. So even in this situation where this guy knew more than I did about this functional area, it still was important to invest in his training and mentorship and spend the time with him, with the others on the team, so you can really, they know that you have the confidence in them. You're operating as a confident leader. You've got the competence on the team as a whole. Doesn't mean you need to have it personally. And it really reduces the need for constant oversight, which again takes the pressure off you, empowers your team, and really makes things easier. So developing your team skills is an investment that has tremendous payoff. Delegating. We talked about that a little bit. It's not enough. Like, delegating doesn't just mean, hey, I'm throwing this over the fence, you catch it. What it means, delegating effectively is to really let go of the tasks that others can handle, to make sure that people are empowered to make decisions and you're supporting that, and to make sure that they have all the information they need to take that ball and run with it. So you may have context they don't have. It's really important that you provide that and that you communicate expectations clearly in order to not just delegate, but delegate well in a way that sets them up for success. Excuse me. It's absolutely gorgeous spring in the Northeast where I live, and I am suffering through the allergy season. So excuse me. Okay, so aligned with delegating is setting clear expectations. This is so important. Like, I can remember times where I had bosses that sort of laid something out, but weren't real clear about what they were expecting. There wasn't space for asking questions. They may not even have been present to engage with questions and to get clarification. So, it's not that you want to spoon feed everything to everybody, but you have to set clear expectations and make space for them to ask questions. If things are ambiguous, people are going to get frustrated, and there may be some inefficiencies there. If there are gaps in information, people are really good at filling in the gaps, and it may not always be accurately. So spending some time setting those expectations and assuring that, the information has been caught and they're ready to run and they're comfortable, is really, really important. Actually, let me correct something I just said. They don't have to be comfortable, but they have to embrace the discomfort that is part of growth in order to run with it. So you need to make sure that you're setting those clear expectations and putting accountability in place, but really making yourself available along the way, having some checkpoints along the way to make sure this is not I'm assigning this task to you and the deliverables in 4 weeks. See ya. That's not it at all. It might look more like, I'm assigning this task. Here are what the expectations are. Here's what the deliverable needs to look like. Do you have any questions? Is there an interaction? Is there anything else you need to set you up for success there? And let's check back in a week or whatever to see how it's going. So you're not delegating it and forgetting about it for a month. you're really setting clear expectations and setting them up for success. Another strategy in order to make your life as a leader easier is to prioritize ruthlessly and actively. You don't just do it once, it's an ongoing process. Not everything is urgent. Sometimes it may feel like it is. Trust me, it isn't. You can't possibly get everything done that's on your plate. I mean, that's one of the things that's cool about the job of most of the folks that resonate to my stuff and that listen to these videos is you have more to do than you can do. You got to be shifting gears all the time, which means you have to constantly be prioritizing and reprioritizing and be willing to leave some things undone, but you have to make sure they are the right things. So you have to focus on those high impact activities. You have to focus on the things that are truly urgent, instead of getting bogged down in things that either may be minor, that may be urgent for someone else, not truly for your business. So making those clear decisions about what gets done and what gets undone, and make sure you're communicating that to your team. It's not enough for you to be prioritizing in your mind. If you don't communicate that to your team, they may still be running with something that you have decided isn't the highest priority anymore, and you need their mind, their mental effort and their time on this new thing. You have to really clearly communicate with that, even if it means cutting them off sort of mid-project, because that thing is less important now. That can be a hard call to make, and that can be hard for them to hear, but better to cut the effort off if needed and redirect them than have them continue and you end up, not using the output of their work anyway. So, the whole thread that goes through that is clear communication. Another strategy to think about that can really make your life easier as a leader is to create a culture of accountability. When people take responsibility for their outcomes, you will spend a lot less time micromanaging and more time leading and more time with your eye on growth opportunities or what other things you can be doing or ways that your team can be contributing to the business in a bigger way. If you have that culture of accountability, because your people will know, they will ask if something's not clear. They will lay out for you what the expectations are. They may reiterate them to you and make sure that you're aligned. They will make you aware of what their timeline is, where they need more help, where they may need resources. So if you're creating that culture of accountability and they're taking it on, you aren't going to have to worry about every little step along the way, because they've got it and they'll ask for what they need and they'll be running with it. It requires feedback from you, though. If you are creating that culture of accountability, you can't just delegate this and run away and assume that they've got it. If you see examples of them having taken that accountability and things are moving along, tell them how great that is. Like, how easy is that as a leader to provide good feedback? It reinforces that they're doing the right things. It also paves the way for sometimes when you need to have that tougher conversation about things that may not still be on track. And the thing is, if you see something that concerns you, use that as an opportunity to ask questions. Get curious, not judgmental. Try and understand where they're coming from. You may have a conversation, like they may not be doing it the way that you would have done it. That's part of letting go. You have to give space for that. But that doesn't mean that it's suboptimal. It just may be another way. And like, let's say there's a world where they hit 90% of what you would have hit had you done it your way, or at least you're convinced of that in your mind. It still may be worth that little gap. You may be able to live with that little gap in order to increase your leadership efficiency and increase their sense of autonomy. And, they can run with it. Again, we all want to be needed, but we don't want to be needed every moment. So giving that feedback on what's working and what isn't really helps reinforce that spirit of accountability and lets them know you're not washing your hands of the situation. You're still there supporting and guiding behind the scenes if they need you. But it reinforces their their confidence that they've got it. Another strategy that can help make your life easier as a leader is to simplify your decision making. Not every decision requires your involvement. This is another point where you may have to let go of what you thought was the right way to do it. Let them do it their way. Ask some questions. How did they come to that conclusion? What were they thinking? You may have a piece of information that they've missed that you forgot to tell them. Having those conversations is really, really powerful. But empower them to make the decision that, it's within their scope. So you can focus on that higher level strategy. They know that they can run with it. If things don't work out that time, it gives you a powerful opportunity to unpack that. What happened? What might they want to do differently next time? Don't shame them about what didn't work out. You got to fix it. And then you process what could be different next time so that they have a more optimal outcome. And, sometimes simplifying that decision making may feel uncomfortable for you because they won't follow the path you would follow. So talk about it. You can even tell them if you're having trouble letting go of it a little bit and what your concerns are. It's really okay to share that with them because it makes it real, for one thing. If you're feeling it, they may be sensing it. You may as well acknowledge it. But it sort of normalizes the challenges we all face when we're growing, when we're getting uncomfortable. So, if you're not sure about something, talk about it. Tell them, I want to have a little stream of consciousness here to talk through what some of my thoughts are. You sharing those concerns, your thought process with them is almost always valuable because it helps them learn by where you're going, or you may have an assumption that they can correct. So you always come together to a stronger place when you talk about those things. And then I promised you that the last strategy was going to be worth waiting for. Here it comes. Cultivate how can we make this easy mindset. Make it part of your culture. Ask the question all the time. Like, leadership is not about control, or good leadership is not about control. It's about influence. It's about trust. It's about the confidence, having the confidence that things may not go exactly as planned and you'll learn from it and you'll end up in a better place. And cultivating that, how can we make it easier mindset is a way to sort of live that and let go of some of that control. And that could be a conversation you regularly have. If you're in your team meetings, you could, it just could be a question you ask all the time. This is great. Are we over engineering this? How can we make it easier? I think the outcome's good. Let's put a little brain power into how can we put less effort into the same thing. Like, that's kind of a fun challenge for the team to work on together. And you'll know you've really won when they start asking the question. You can start asking it and hopefully they pick it up in a, how can we make this easier mindset? There may be times where you can't make it easier. Okay, cool. Then look at the other side of the equation. Okay, if we have to put in this much effort, how can we make the impact even greater? So there's different ways of dialing up the impact and the productivity. Either reduce the effort, dial up the impact. There's two different ways to approach it. Both are good, and both are very aligned with this. How can we make this easier mindset? Because how can we make this better is always there. Let's just make it easier too. So hopefully that was worth waiting for. Just keep in mind, the reason that we're talking about this is that the best leaders don't make their lives harder by doing everything themselves, by managing through sheer effort. Doing more is not always the answer. If things feel hard, working harder is not the answer. It's focused on building strong teams. It's focused on setting clear expectations, fostering that accountability, and embracing the right mindset and leading your folks in that way. We've talked a lot about shifting your perspective to see discomfort as part of growth. That's important here too, because some of these shifts will be uncomfortable. But don't take it as we need to put in more effort. It's we need to think a little bit about this. We may need to work smarter. How can we make it easier? You're going to end up with the kind of culture you want and an even greater impact. I mean, here is your permission slip to make life easier for yourself by making leadership easier, and you'll make your whole team more effective, and the impact that you all have will be greater. So there's permission to make it easier. Let me know the ways that you figure out how to do it, because I think by sharing some of that wisdom, we can make everybody more effective. So thank you for listening in, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.